Hollywood is swarming with Aussie talent these days, and no wonder, we're just that good. And the hottest of the hot in more ways than one is Ryan Kwanten. Starring in Home and Away before heading overseas, Ryan's star status was shot into the stratosphere, playing Jason Stackhouse in the vampire series True Blood.
Bigfoot, is he real too? Santa?
Jason, focus.
Swapping the southern drawl for his native accent, Ryan is now back home talking up his starring role in the new Australian film Red Hill.
What the hell's going on here? You tell me, son.
Please welcome Ryan Kwanten.
It's a lot of guys squealing. Now, the new film, Red Hill, I would describe it as like almost an old-school Western revenge flick. But instead of the hero being bulletproof, you have it's set in a small Aussie town for a start, but you have the crap beaten out of you throughout this movie. You spend most of it wet, half of it unconscious. Did you know what you were in for when you signed up for this thing?
Not really. Look, I'm somewhat of a masochist at heart anyway, so I appreciate the darker side of life, and any time that I get beaten down is always a good thing. But this was absolute sort of 24 days of pure sort of adrenaline, and what that translated to onto the screen was this sort of, I guess, epic journey of revenge, vengeance, and just, you know, a guy standing up for what he believes in.
Country Victoria can get bloomin' cold. Like, how cold was it for you constantly being in the wet?
That was sort of consistently like -10, and then I had on top of that sort of rain machines pouring down sort of water on top of me. So it was, yeah, it was pretty cold. And I came from stinking hot Louisiana heat too, so...
Lovely to be home. Listen, people talk a lot about the difference in American and Australian sets. I mean, and you've had a long stint on American sets. How would you describe it?
Well, I think universally they're very much the same. Like a grip is a grip and a gaffer is a gaffer. But what separates us is... for an example, we're shooting, say, at 3 o'clock in the morning, and if Al Clark, the producer, came in and wanted an extra half hour, an hour of an overtime, before he even finished that sentence of asking, it was almost rhetorical, because the crew was sort of like, yeah, sure, get out of here, we'll continue, we'll work. But I think anywhere else in the world, it becomes far more of a discussion. There's, you know, legalities involved and unions and this and that, but here it's just...
So it's looser.
Yeah, and it's a labour of love. It's understood. And these films don't get made without that.
Now, what has amazed me in studying you, I'm not doing a TAFE course or anything. It's got to be good, though, getting a degree in you. But no,
wow.
you're
nice to meet you.
Yeah. But no, you're a triathlete. Is that what you call yourself? A triathlete?
I have been known to do them.
And you also you instruct yoga. Yeah,
I'm qualified to.
You're qualified to, and you were in a bowling team.
Yes.
That's extraordinary.
You have really done your research.
I so want to do well in
Should
the
I be
exam.
scared right now?
Yeah. But what was your bowling team called?
I hope we can say it. It was called Balls Deep.
Balls Deep. You can say it again.
There's a stunning play on words. Well done.
Stunning revelation. Yeah.
Now, True Blood, my friends are obsessed by it. The world over loves it. But before you made it big in True Blood, when you got to LA, I understand you're at the point where you couldn't even pay rent. What was that about?
Well, it wasn't even rent. I was staying at a hotel, and I only could afford sort of the 2 days there, and I got a call from this sort of manager who said, look, this is pretty much the tipping point of your life. If you want to stay, if this is the job for you, then you might want to think about staying here. So I sort of sat down on the edge of the bed with my bags packed, and I thought, well, I'm going to do something about this. So I went downstairs, spoke to the manager and said, look, sir, I'd like to speak to your owner, please. And he looked at me like I was crazy, which I probably was. The owner came, and I said, listen, mate, I haven't got a cent to my name, but I said, if you can let me stay at the hotel for 3 months, free of charge, I will pay you back every red cent at the end of that 3 months and, you know, promote and do whatever I can for your hotel. And he didn't even hesitate. He said yes, and that was the start of this sort of journey.
And when did you pay him back?
2.5 months into it.
Oh, wow.
And then every interview that I do, the Cadillac Hotel, which Cadillac Hotel, Venice Beach, California.
Now, there's something I read recently which fascinated me. You're going to play Charles Manson, one of the most notorious killers of all time. How did you feel when someone looked at you and said, you know what, you could be Charles Manson?
You know what? I love it when people try to pigeonhole me, and there's nothing that I take more pride in sort of breaking people's perceptions, and this was just another sort of way to do that. And plus, I think it's a story that hasn't been told all that well, and we want to sort of humanise the victims and really sort of bring to life who he was.
Well, we look forward to it.
Absolutely.
It'll be fascinating.
It's been great having you here. You can check out Ryan in Red Hill. It's out in cinemas November 25. Thanks for joining us.
We're going to take a break right now, but we're going to be back in a sec with Stairs Lucas.